Hey guys, welcome to WoW Weekly with Myst. And this week is pretty busy for a bunch of stuff. I did a lot of stuff in WoW this week. I have a lot of new info for next week's events for you guys, and I also have a lot of news for you guys. So it's going to be a pretty packed video, which is why I decided to throw this mythic dungeon in. Actually, I always throw a mythic dungeon in anyway for for these WoW weeklies usually. However, it will fill the whole video pretty much. I think it's gonna take us, roughly 20 minutes to discuss everything that's going on. So we'll start with me, and yeah, so I feel quite accomplished for this week, considering I've been playing other games as well. I did a lot more on WoW this week than I had even intended. I knocked out my islands for the weekly. I did a bunch of achievements, which I'm not going to mention because they're going to be going into YouTube videos in probably 2 weeks or so. And I made some new records with my mythics. I got some new loot, which upped my item level, an extra couple of item levels. So I'm now 401, almost 402. And yeah, and I think that's it, really. I did other stuff, but not really worth mentioning. Those are kind of like the accomplishments. Actually, one more is that finally I logged in on my rogue and actually leveled the rogue a bit. Not a whole bunch, but as you guys may know that watch, pretty much most of my videos, the rogue was a goal for 2, maybe 3 weeks. And that was at the time where I was starting to kind of limit my WoW play. We were just doing mount runs and that was it. Well, I finally logged in on the rogue and leveled, not much, just 1 level, but it's a start. And I'm gonna try to get them kind of all caught up. I want to try to get the alts kind of where they usually would be. By this point, I usually have every single alt of mine. Every single alt that's normally max level in every expansion, they're usually maxed. And yeah, I've been slacking on that. I do have quite a few 120s, but I also have quite a few characters sitting at the beginning of BFA doing nothing. So yeah, that is basically one of my goals. Not a serious goal, but it is something that I do want to, over time, get caught up with so that they are all good to go when the more serious stuff rolls around. Okay, so moving on. This week's events coming up. We have the PvP Brawl Gravity Lapse. We will also have Time Walking returning for this coming up week. It'll be Myst Pandaria. So that'll be dungeons. And Children's Week is also going to be showing up on May 2nd. And that will go till the 9th. And then we also have Dark Moon. And that will start up on May 5th. Which, of course, is a Sunday, because it always starts up on Sunday. So yeah, that's a pretty packed week, 4 events. Children's Week, I'll link the video. I think I did a video last year or the year before. I'll link that for you guys. I'm also going to do some stuff for Children's Week, I'm sure. So yeah, definitely check that stuff out if that's something that interests you. You can obtain pets throughout the Children's Week. And of course there's, many achievements as well. Okay, so on to our longer part of this video, which is this week's news. So lately we have had a lot of new info with Classic. Still no release date, but they are definitely releasing info for Classic. So as you guys probably remember, at BlizzCon, they had announced it for summer of 2019. Well, it's summer. So I imagine we are going to, well, it technically isn't summer yet, but we're reaching there. We're getting into summer. So I imagine soon we are going to hear a release date. I know that when I had first heard that at BlizzCon, my instant reaction was a mid-June release. So that's what I'm thinking. You know, I think that might possibly be why we all feel like the new patch for BFA has kind of started late, you know, mainly meaning that PTR opened up later than it typically would have in previous expansions. And yeah, I think that might be part of it. Some of the new info that we have heard is, well, what patch it will be set to. So it's going to be set to the Drums of War, which is the 1.12. Okay, so for those that are unaware, because, yeah, I fully understand that not everyone watching this video played vanilla. So the Drums of War patch included Cross-Realm Battlegrounds. There was the PvP in Eastern Kingdoms and Silithus. This is also the patch where they added automatic quest tracking, so you will see that. There was timers added for the Need Before Greed group loot. And one thing that, you know, I really kind of missed, even although I never played on a Mac back in vanilla, but you guys might remember that you could control your iTunes and you could have it display the song right on screen. For some reason, it had always really bugged me that they removed that function. And it's funny because, yes, I have played WoW on a Mac, but for maybe 2 years out of my 15 years of WoW. My entire WoW play pretty much has been on a Windows computer. So yeah, and you know, as you guys know, you don't need an iMac to run iTunes. So yeah, I really remember missing that, you know, because for me, I'm a person that has a lot of music, and sometimes I would come across a song that I really wouldn't recognize, and I'd be in a fucking raid, and back when it was vanilla, I didn't play a 2-monitor system. Like, we're talking 15 years ago. I don't know if anyone really had a 2-monitor system back then. I don't know, maybe. Who knows? But not me. Everything was running off one monitor. And yeah. So really it was kind of a pain to go, you know, see what song was playing. So it was nice to kind of have that up on the screen. I just never understood why they didn't just, you know, like, leave it there, and if you didn't want to use it, you just disabled it. Like, it wasn't mandatory. You could enable or disable the function. So anyway, long story short, that is in that patch as well, because that's when they actually added that in. Well, I don't know if it's when they added iTunes in, but it's when they added support for it. Yeah. Okay, so over here, I've screenshotted this to show you guys. But Classic WoW will release in 6 phases. As you can see the different phases and what becomes available. So when it first releases, we will see Molten Core, Onyxia, and Mara. For those unaware, Molten Core is a pretty big raid. Onyxia, not so much. However, there is a mountain there, in case you don't have that yet. But I don't know. I don't know. Would you want mounts in Classic? I would think you would just want to farm that over in Retail. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe you're going to leave Retail completely. We don't know, right? So anyway, there's Molten Core, which is the bigger raid, and Nyxia is like a one boss, and Mara's a dungeon, which is a pretty big dungeon. So that is some pretty good content for the start. And then in phase 2, we will have Dire Maul, Azir, Kha'Zix, and Honor System, and PvP rank rewards. Phase 3 will have Blackwing Lair, Darkmoon Fair Dex, Alterac Valley, and Warsong Gulch. For phase 4, we'll have Arathi, Azalgarub, and Green Dragons. Phase 5 will be AQ War Effort, AQ Raids, Tier 0.5, Loot Revamp. And then in phase 6, we'll have the PvP in Silithus and Eastern Plaguelands, Nax, and Scourge Invasion. Now, where I have a problem with the Classic WoW is, from my understanding, don't quote me because things can change down the way, but at this precise moment, the BattleNet friend list is there. And while I agree you should have friends to play with, that is not original WoW. Original WoW had no BattleNet. Your only friends were in-game, had to be on your server, you know. So I highly disagree with the whole BattleNet thing. I think that integration should be gone. You know, that's just me. But I really don't feel like BattleNet should be available to Classic WoW. Okay, and another thing is, you may have noticed, or you may have heard, that Classic actually hit alpha. It was through the employees, though. Employees and family type stuff, friends and family. So that gives you guys some hope as well for it releasing soon. I personally feel like overall it'll be interesting to know what all they do with this, because one thing I personally remember from vanilla is how certain bugs and certain fixes were the reasons you got past certain raid bosses. You know, I can think of one big one that was basically unkillable, you know, and that was over in AQ. And yeah, it wasn't until a hotfix that raids could start killing those. Honestly, it'll be interesting to know where this all goes, because as a person who has played vanilla, I'm going to be the one to say vanilla wasn't all it was cracked up to be. You know, I admire people who want to get that feeling back, or even people who basically stayed in vanilla more or less all these years because they loved it. And don't get me wrong, vanilla was great, but there were a lot of problems with it. It was like the beginning of any game. You learn from your mistakes, and there were raid bosses that were basically unkillable. There were a ton of bugs. There were loot issues. You know, there was a lot. Like, I feel like when people want the original feeling, you know, be careful what you ask for, because the original feeling wasn't great. Like, in the past, I've made the comment of I'll never have that feeling back, and that feeling is my first time playing World of Warcraft, you know, my first time looting something that was truly legendary, not just some rare mob that pops up every 10 minutes, like a serious legendary item, right? Those are the moments that I'll miss, but at the same time, I've been there, done that. You know, like, I plan on returning for a bit just to see it. I want to see what they do. And, you know, I do, you know, it has been 15 years. It would be a nice little, you know, nice little trip down memory lane. But at the same time, I don't know. If they put everything exactly how they want people to feel, we're looking at a buggy fucking game, because that's all vanilla was. It was just bug after bug. So yeah, I would like to kind of see how far they're taking that. It's a tough place, because, like, you know, I wouldn't want to be in their shoes, because they have on one side, they have the vanilla players that remember what it was like and would easily notice something out of place. And then on another side, they have the people that never stepped into vanilla, and they're seeing this as a new game. And I feel like those two, you can't win. You can't win trying to satisfy those two groups. The other side expects it to be kind of similar to today's world. They don't realize how bad it really was in vanilla. You know, they're expecting that you can trade loot all over the place. You can, like, I would hope they're not expecting to fly. But in case you didn't play vanilla, a few things that you definitely will not see. One, you will not be able to take your mount off the ground. Flying didn't come into the picture till BC. There will be no LFR or LFG. You will have to find a group on your own on your server. And I imagine there wouldn't be cross-realm. I would hope they wouldn't do cross-realm. Personally, I admire the dedication that the team has working on Classic right now, because I wish there was that kind of dedication for BFA right now. Because the sad truth is, these people that say that Classic is going to die soon, while I don't disagree, I don't agree either. I think what is going to happen is, I don't think it's going to be as big as people think it is. I think it'll be pretty hyped up when it first releases, and then people will fade out. You know, mainly people that are used to WoW today. You know, people who like to fly and like to, go in pre-mades and, shit like that. But I also think that because BFA is dry, Classic is gonna be that filler in game. So when a WoW player doesn't want to play BFA, I think that's when they go with their friends over to Classic and putz around there. And then when something exciting is happening over in BFA, they return. And I think it's just going to be a cycle like that, which is fine. But if they had a team that, you know, actually cared as much as the team does for Classic, I think BFA wouldn't be as bad as it is, you know. Don't get me wrong, I don't think BFA at all would have ever been awesome. You know, I think we lucked out with Legion. It was hard for them to you know, beat Legion, especially when we're coming from Draenor. Okay, so I think we talked about Classic long enough here. I've got 2 more things to go over, and then we will end this long-ass video. So, the next one is a hotfix that they just recently did for the Crucible of Storm. The Restless Cabal, his damage from Power Overwhelming is increased to 1,000%. It was 300%. It's actually kind of funny how much hate Crucible has been getting lately because, well, the fact is that for Cabal, it is practically impossible to get him down on Mythic without having like 8 Shadow Priests and locks. And that's all you'll ever hear until they do something, right? And the funny part is WoW's always been like that. I remember even in vanilla, you know, it was not bring the player, it was always bring the class. And that's exactly why teams like Method and, you know, Limit and, you know, people similar to them, that's why they don't main one character, they main like fucking 6, you know? Or I shouldn't say they main 6, but they have multiple characters. And you see those multiple characters in the same raid that they do. You know, they swap them out based on the fight that's going to occur. And that's just how raiding is set up and has been that way for a long time. Okay, and for our final discussion for this video, lately, when I say lately, I mean a day ago, but it's Saturday night and this post's on Monday. So by the time you see this post, it'll be 3 days old news. But there was a bunch of bans put in place for an add-on where people would, well, we might as well just say people would make the female characters have bigger boobs. You know, the add-on itself says it's to change one race from another, but let's get serious. There's only one reason people have that add-on, and it's for the boobs. So yeah, apparently, you should not use that add-on, and if you are, stop now, because Blizzard has been putting out huge bans for people using them, and they are large bans, man. Like, they have ranged from anywhere from a 30-day ban to a 549-day ban. Like, that is crazy. That is so fucking crazy. Like, 549 days? Really? That is such a high amount. So yes, if you use that add-on, you know, I suggest you stop. You know, I don't know how I really feel about this. My personal thoughts on the matter is how long have add-ons been in the picture? Like, really? I've personally, I'd never use an add-on like that because in my mind, if a character doesn't look the way that I want and I can't alter that character, I don't play that character. Cough, cough, the Culturin. I will never have one of those characters because I don't want to play a fat fuck. It's a fantasy game for a reason. So the only way I could ever see myself playing that character is if I turned it into a druid, because when you're a druid, you don't have to look at the real form, right? But I already have a druid that I main, and in my eyes, the Night Elf druid still outranks every druid in the game, and that includes the KT and the Zandalari. So yeah, unfortunately, that's one that just won't get created. And if it does, it'll be literally for the achievement, and then we'll delete it. And yeah, it was kind of unfortunate with the KT race because in my mind, I was really hyped for it because I was thinking I could have a Jaina lookalike, which was really exciting for me. I really love Jaina, and I thought it would be really cool to just have a character like her. But what a difference, you go from thinking you can have this Jaina lookalike to seeing figures that look like they may have not just eaten the donuts, but eaten the entire store while they were at it. So, yeah, that was really unfortunate. Honestly, I'm surprised that we don't have a customization system where you could alter the way the chick's boobs look, because I know in other games, I think Elder Scrolls was one of them, you could adjust your boobs to be fucking A cup, B cup, fucking, I don't know what the highest cup is, but you could make them huge or small or medium. Like, you had that ability. And being that, WoW's a 15-year game, you would think we would have some sort of customization like that. I feel like sometimes when it comes to thinking about why a person would use that add-on, I can kind of see why they would want to, and I don't believe it's the nudity factor, because that's what, the forum was basically stating. Maybe you can make your character nude, who knows, but I would think it's probably more so that your boobs don't look like every other fucking female in the game, because literally that's the case. And every female that's in the game, other than maybe an undead, because they have literally the worst boobs ever, but every other character pretty much has the same boobs, just different body type, of course, but they're all the same. Like, no orc female looks different than another orc female, or a night elf female. And I hate to be that one that says, boobs do change the way you look, but yeah, they do. So while I can't really give my full opinion because I'm kind of steering around, I have that kind of mentality that, like, use brains. If you think it's wrong, then it probably is. And if they didn't add it into the game, there obviously was a reason. So while I don't think that you should necessarily get banned for half a year or longer for increasing the boob size of your character. At the same time, I feel like you should have been smarter to know that that was against TOS. You know, like one of the biggest things with this add-on that was mentioned was that it adds the element of nudity. Well, Blizzard would definitely be against that. If I learned anything from a couple of years back when Overwatch, you remember when Tracer ended up being like one of the top porn stars or whatever on one of those sites, and you know, and they were freaking out. That really was the moment when I realized they are family friendly now. And the reason I say now is because for years, and you guys that have been playing WoW for a while will remember this, but for years, that was WoW. There would be naked chicks, naked guys dancing around whatever in the game, making rude gestures. Hello, Moonguard still exists, right? So, like, that shit is there, and it used to be a lot worse back in the early days. But they never gave a shit about that. And then Overwatch came into the picture and they did, and I always kind of thought the reasoning behind that was because it was too late for WoW. They'd already fucked up by not caring earlier, right? We'd already had years of, you know, getting away with that shit, whereas Overwatch at the time was new. Like, that stuff happened within the first few months of release. Might have even been less than a month of the official release. So yeah. It's kind of like that parent that fucks up their firstborn, and their firstborn ends up being this badass, and then the woman gets pregnant again, and they decide that they're gonna redo everything better with the second child. You know, that is WoW versus Overwatch. So all in all, my final thoughts are, I feel like it is against TOS and a ban should be there, because the thing is, the public may think it's all about bigger boobs, but it's not. One of the biggest things with this add-on is that you can do stuff to make battlegrounds easier. You know, it's not just about customization. There's transmogs that, you know, aren't even earned that you could have, you know, stuff like that. There's, you know, I can definitely understand why they would do a ban, because, you know, if it involves battlegrounds, yeah, that's where you definitely get the whiners. Yeah, so all in all, I think their ban time is a little crazy. I think going over a year is pretty crazy. Most people got 180 days, but, you know, they did mention 30 days, 180 days, and 549 days. So, you know, like, that shit's pretty crazy. I don't know. So while I think that depending on what was done with the add-on by that specific individual, you know, we don't know what each individual person used that add-on for. So it's hard for us to really say, yeah, they should have gone banned, right? We don't know if they were trying to cheat. We don't know if they just wanted to customize. I think the customization, there shouldn't really be anything as far as a ban for you on that. But wearing transmogs that you didn't have to work to earn, that maybe in, maybe normally you would have to, yeah, that's cheating in my eyes. And then like the battleground stuff, yeah, that's cheating as well. So I just feel like if it was for the customization, fine. If it was for anything else, you used it to cheat, basically. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what your thoughts are. We all have our own opinions. No thought is, false. So yeah. But yeah, let me know. Do you think the time frame that they're banning for is crazy? Do you think that is ban-worthy, or is it not ban-worthy? Also, let me know what your thoughts are of the classic. I know we kind of drifted at the end because I got on this ban, little topic, I guess. But let me know what you thought overall of everything I mentioned in the video. The two big things being this ban topic and the classic. Okay, so I think we'll end it here. I went way longer than I anticipated for this video. I think I might have steered a bit off track here, guys. My bad. But yeah, it got bad enough that I had to throw a fucking Islands video in after the Mythic Plus. Normally we don't do that. Normally it's a dungeon or it's an island. But when I get talking sometimes. It's what makes us content creators great, right? Is we have the ability to blab. So anyway, speaking of blabbing, I think we will stop blabbing. And I hope you enjoyed today's video. And let me know what you thought in the comment section. Let me know if you're excited for Classic. And we'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye.